So one thing about hospitality that not enough people talk about, in my opinion, is that hospitality is communication, right? It's all about communication. If you are not a good, confident communicator, then you're going to have a hard time delivering hospitality. And so when I say good and confident, I mean confident as in you're going to do it, right? I'm going to give you an example. So this is a restaurant I'm working with. And so we went to eat there, and the server was great. In fact, we got done eating a really good meal, and one of the people I was with said, I'm gonna just say it right now, the server was the best part of this meal. And we agreed. But the plot thickens, okay? Because this server was not polished at all. But he was hitting the marks that were asked to hit, right? He was using the guest touch points to be able to communicate with the guest in the appropriate ways and the appropriate time. So one of them is, we always excite with education. And what that means is, if we have a salmon on the dish, for example, right? And someone asks us how the salmon is, you never want to say the salmon is really good, it's really popular, it's one of my favorites, one of the staff favorites. That's the worst, and I'm sorry, but laziest answers. And I don't think people necessarily mean to be lazy when they give those answers. I think they just don't know what other answer to give, but it is a lazy answer on paper, right? It's a lazy answer by default, because it's just very like, it's just like, yeah, I get it, right? Yeah, it's really good. You're basically just saying it doesn't suck. So we have excite through education. What you're supposed to say is, someone asks you how the salmon is, you go, well, actually our salmon is caught in a certain area, so it has a different type of fat because of the water temperature that it's caught in. And so the way it's cooked and the fat actually tastes almost like butter. And we use a Bleu Blanc sauce that we make in-house from scratch, and we pour it over the salmon because it's made from scratch and it comes right out of the pan. It actually just melts in your mouth like butter. When you just bite into that, those two ingredients together, it just melts in your mouth like butter. It's absolutely phenomenal. You have to try it, right? Versus, it's really good. Yeah, I like it a lot. Yeah, the sauce is really nice, right? And so that's what you're supposed to do with excite through education. Now, I've done this for a while, so I have it down, right? But this server didn't. And so he knows to excite through education. He knows to talk about the menu, talk about specials. So he walks up to our table, doesn't know who I am, and he has this energy about him, right? He does give energy. It's not this crazy energy. It's not like a Tony Robbins energy. It's a very unpolished energy, but he had it. And then he walks up and he goes, by the way, can I just tell you about our special tonight? I said, absolutely. He goes, we have a shrimp scampi pasta that's absolutely great. It's made in-house. The pasta noodles are made in-house. It's creamy. The shrimp is really succulent. It just tastes really good. It has a nice flavor. And the shrimp are really big. And I absolutely love this dish. Now, that was not polished. That was not like a wow presentation, right? If it was a speech, you wouldn't get awards, right? But there was passion behind it. And it really did make you think about it. You're like, wow, that does actually sound good. Doesn't sound perfect, right? There's some things off there, but it sounds good. I'm interested. That example is just kind of how his energy was the whole night, right? He talked about things very passionately. He talked about it with energy, but he was very unpolished. He would use words in the wrong context sometimes, right? He'd say stuff like, I guess I work here. You know, because he was telling us a story. He goes, oh, I've been in the industry for about 5 years now, and I guess I work here now. And he wasn't trying to say, I guess I work here now. He just wasn't well spoken in the moment. But there's nothing wrong with that, right? Because he was communicating with confidence. He did have confidence about it, right? And he was communicating well, as in like consistently. So well and confident is just consistent and with passion. That's it. Consistent with passion. We want to be able to train our staff to communicate well, right? We want to teach them the art of communication. Now, the first step of communicating well is doing it. Bottom line, period. Right? We want to just do things better and better and better. We're going to be bad at them, but we just want to keep doing them until we get better. How do we do that? We get reps, right? If you go into the gym and you start working out, lifting weights, you're going to be throwing your body weight all around, doing it wrong. If you go out running and you've never ran before, you're going to be running probably the wrong way versus running the best way to get to last the longest, or to take pressure off your feet or off your knees, whatever it is. You're not thinking about stuff like that because you don't know. He was unpolished, but he was taking the first step in being a great communicator, which is doing it. Which is doing it with confidence, which is getting outside your comfort zone. You could tell there was a little bit of nervousness to him. He was going outside of his comfort zone to give hospitality, to try and connect with us. He asked us questions. He got to know us. And again, he wasn't polished, and he probably knew that, but he still did it. And that's so important. We want to teach our staff how to communicate. If we can teach them the art of communication, that is one of the most powerful tools a human being can have. Everything is done through communication. Your relationships get better when you communicate better, when you communicate more, when you have uncomfortable conversations, when you have conversations that you don't want to have. Your relationships with your friends get better. Your relationship with your family gets better. Your relationship in business gets better, right? Your day-to-day life gets better when you go to the counter to order coffee, or you go to the bank to get money out of your account and you're talking to someone, interacting with someone, you have good communication skills, it makes everything better. So art of communication is something we want to teach our staff because it's going to have an impact not only inside work but outside work. And it has a snowball effect, right? They start doing it inside of work, all of a sudden they start doing it outside of work without even realizing it. They get more and more confident, and they do it more and more. And before you know it, it's a huge snowball effect, and they're really, really good at communicating. But the first step is getting them outside their shell, encouraging that. I always use a lobster effect as an example. I ask them right away when we're training, I go, who here wants personal growth? Not just in this job, just in general. Who here is interested in personal growth? Of course, everyone raises their hand. Okay, if you're into personal growth, one thing you have to understand is everybody's into personal growth. There's not one person I've met who's like, I have no desire to grow personally. I just want to stay in my little bubble, not make any more money, not make any more friends, not learning new skill sets, not grow anymore. I just want to stay in my little bubble. Everyone wants to grow personally. But the difference between someone who does and someone who doesn't is simply doing the work, making the effort. Personal development and growth doesn't fall in your lap. You have to go and seek it. And so we want to tell them about the lobster effect, which is really simple. I'll break it down and I'll just kind of give you the gist of it. But basically the lobster, when it needs to grow out of its shell, because obviously its shell doesn't grow with it, it starts growing into its shell really tight and it gets super uncomfortable. And so that signals to the lobster it needs to go shed its shell. So it goes underneath water into a little dark cave where it's safe, sheds its shell, grows a new one. What's the point of that story? The point is you cannot grow without being uncomfortable. You have to get uncomfortable to grow. The biggest growth you'll get fastest is when you put yourself in uncomfortable situations. And I always tell the staff, just like when you got this job, right? The last job you got, right? Were you uncomfortable when you first started? New people, new environment, new things to learn, new management. Yeah, you were uncomfortable, but you did it because you wanted the job. So you went and dealt with the uncomfortability, and eventually it became normal. Eventually got through that comfortability, and with that, you grew. You grew through perseverance and tenacity, right? You grew through will. And so we want to keep doing that. So one of the things we're going to do is I'm going to ask you to talk to the tables. I'm going to ask you to have communications, not just servers, food runners, bussers, hosts. I always say, learn one thing. Learn one thing about them. Connect with them, right? And it's going to be awkward at first. Some people will be really receptive to it. Some people are not going to be receptive to it. Some people are going to look at you like you're a weirdo. That's okay. We don't use that as signals to not do it. We use that as signals to know that we're getting uncomfortable when we're learning our craft, right? We're not here to land the ship perfectly with every single table. It's not going to happen. But what we can do is show them that we care. And 9 times out of 10, even that uncomfortable, awkward conversation that you're trying to start, people like it because they like the fact that you're showing that you care. That's what people want at the end of the day. Normally with a complaint, 9 times out of 10, people don't want something for free. That's not what motivates them. They want to know that you care. It's the same thing here. They just want to know that you care. They want to go through an experience at your restaurant, and they want to know that you care. And they're going to know when they have the hostess asking us questions, the food runner talking to us about the food, the bussers asking us how our meal was, the server asking us about us personally, like, are you guys local? Where are you guys from? First time here? How long are you in town? Are you here for a special occasion, right? Asking genuine questions and asking follow-up questions after that so they seem genuine. Not just like, it's your first time here? Okay, awesome, blah, 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 right? First time here, cool. Are you guys local? Oh, you guys are? Is this first time here? What the heck? Why? What took you so long? Awesome. Well, I'm going to show you why this place is freaking amazing. Little things like that go a long way. Of course, the manager touches have to be the same way. Your manager touches cannot be, hey, how's it going? Everything good here? Okay, my name's Preston. Anything, let me know. I'm the manager. Horrible. Don't bother someone with that nonsense, right? Don't bother someone with that inconvenience of a fake conversation. Go up to them and ask them, hi, how's it going? I talked to your server first. I'm not just wandering tables. I talked to your server first, and they said it's your first time here. They said it was your first time trying the salmon. They said you're celebrating an anniversary. They said you're celebrating a birthday. They just said you got back in town. Whatever it is, we're starting a conversation with them by A, showing them that we're fully communicated, we're talking to each other, and now we're talking to you, and secondly, that we care. We're asking questions because we care, not just because we're checking boxes. If a manager ever comes up to you and says, how's your night? Awesome, my name's Preston. Anything, let me know. That's checking boxes. You know it, I know it, we know it, everyone knows it. Why are we doing that? So everything is about the art of communication. If we can teach them that skill set and develop while they're there, A, they'll be learning and growing, so they will feel fulfilled. It'll give them a why and it'll give them a purpose. And B, it'll make them exponentially better at their jobs. And if we're talking about delivering true hospitality consistently as a culture and not as a requirement, not talking about some guy telling you to say this, not that, right? Say it this way, not that way. Ask a question like this, not a question like that. Those things, sure, matter, but those are so surface level, so basic. You're not delivering hospitality as a culture. You're delivering hospitality as a script, as a step of service. We already have steps of service. What we need is elevation through hospitality, through culture. And we do that through the art of communication. That's just one of the many ways you make hospitality part of your culture and get everyone to buy in. I call it rewiring mindsets. We're here to rewire your staff's mindset, to give them the why, give them the purpose, give them the how. And so there's a million different ways we do this, but this is definitely one of them, and it's the most powerful one. So start teaching your staff the art of communication.